Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. I'm continuing to work on the motor grader ripper assembly. Got it mounted. Last week we function tested it. That is, we used compressed air to operate the cylinder. Over the past week, I haven't recorded much. I have been working on it though. I'll show you a few clips of my efforts to grind down some of the welds, smooth them out. Got a lot of comments about the quality of my welding. I am not a welder. I have no welding training. Some of my welds are okay. Some of the welds on the ripper, especially the ripper shank holders, is pretty bad. I have to say I was kind of in a hurry. That happens. At times I get impatient and I don't know enough about welding to realize that my wire feed was too high. Some of the welds were piling up instead of, kind of the pool melting, laying down. So I have learned that thanks to some comments from some welders, I guess, or viewers. Appreciate that. So I did learn something in the process. So I have been grinding down. I've probably spent 2 or 3 hours doing that. So just hit it up with some primer here a minute ago, and we'll let some of that stuff dry, and I'll hit it up afterwards. I'll put a coat of the yellow, Caterpillar yellow, which is the paint I'm using on this project. It's the Ace Hardware. In their spray can section they have a Caterpillar yellow. Now it's not the proper Cub Cadet color. The Cub Cadet paint, which is what I use on my tractor restorations, of which I have 6 or 7 fully restored tractors, with standard Cub Cadet implements on them, for example. And maybe I'll show you some pictures or something of them. For those, I do use the correct Cub Cadet yellow and almond white paint colors, International Harvester paint colors. And the paint is expensive. It's $20 or $22 per spray can. It is really good paint though, and it lasts a long time. And even with a rattle can, you can get a pretty nice paint job because those cans have good spray nozzles, work pretty well. So on this project, since I'm grinding and still working, and for this project since it required so much paint, I like not to use the Cub Cadet spray cans. I'm using the Caterpillar yellow, which is close. My forklift, actually I think I used the proper Cub Cadet yellow, but on this motor grader I'm using a Caterpillar yellow. It's a lot less expensive. It's not as good a paint. It doesn't cover nearly as well. International paint, covers really well. So 2 or 3 coats of that's like 4 coats or 5 coats of the Caterpillar yellow. Anyway. This is where I'm planning to mount the spool valve. That's funny, that was really stuck. I had that problem before with these valves. The spools are stuck, apparently. Not sure why they would be like that, except some manufacturing issue. Okay, so, all right, I need to use a little transfer punch down here. All right, tighten the nut on the back side there. All right, I got the valve mounted. And so now I'm going to mount this light right here. So I had to move it to make room for the spool valve. So I got to drill a 5/16 hole right there. How's my butchie boy doing, huh? What you doing, huh? You just chilling? You just chilling? Yeah. Oh. What's wrong? Oh, there's my brew. There's my brew. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, what a good boy. And there's a butchie. Okay. It's hot outside. They come in to cool off. All right, I've got 2 spool valves here. I'm only going to use one of them. So we've got fluid in, fluid out. Let's see, this is pump, this is in, and this is tank, so this is out. Let me get some plugs for two of these. I do have one plug here. Yeah, okay. Let me go see if I can find another plug. That's pipe. There we go. I think that'll work. May have to come back with a ratchet hex key on a socket handle, ratchet handle. All right, so this port and this port are interchangeable. So you can move this plug to this side and use this port, or you can use this port. I think I'm just going to use this side, this port, if I can. That is, if I have room to swing this connector all the way around. Oh, wrong size. Okay, so let me go get some bigger connectors. So my choices here is to use a 90-degree on a hose, which I may wind up doing, or just use a straight JIC number 6. I have to see what I have in the way of crimp-on connectors. That may make my choice here. Okay, and then here okay, so this is the challenge with hooking stuff up to these valves, is that you got to clear the adjacent connector, adjacent connection. So I need a straight one to come out. So you use a straight connector and then a 90. All right, I haven't tightened any of these up. They all need to be tightened up. Some of these are O-ring connections. The ones to the body itself are O-ring connections. And of course these are JIC number 6, which is basically 3/8 inch So, okay. All right, so here you can see this 4x6 tube comes into the frame. It's welded here to the main frame. There's a diagonal brace here that's welded to it. It's welded with 2 more braces to a bottom plate, which is welded to this frame. So this particular member, which goes back in another 6 or 8 inches, maybe a total of 18 inches. So that makes sure that that this frame doesn't separate from the motor section, right? Okay. All right, this just gives me access to run lines through here. We'll see if we can do that. Oh, there's my butchie boy. Coming to check on me, huh? Are you coming to check on me? You're gonna start shedding here big time. Okay. He's a good boy. All right, I'm just kind of scoping out my hydraulic line routing, I think. Got a path here. All right, so I measured the hose lengths I need to go from the spool valve to the cylinder using a piece of 5/16 fuel line, fuel hose. And did it for the 2 connections to the cylinder, so one of these is about 1 foot longer than the other. Reach the further. All right. So buy this hose in bulk. This is from Vevor. You can see it's pretty high metal content in the hose. All right. Rated 5,800 psi. Of course, I'm only going to 600 psi. So, all right, I need to blow the tube out with compressed air, but we're going to do straight connections all the way. It's mostly what I have. I have a couple of 45s, but I think I'm just going to use the straight connections. And then I need to make up one more short hose. So we'll do that next. All right, so this is basically for my jumper hose. Oh, I just scared one of the dogs out. Which dog? It's okay. Come here. Oh, my brew. There's my brew. Yeah, what a good boy. Yeah. Sit.
Sit. Sit. There we go. What a good boy. Give me that paw. What a good boy. Yeah. My good boy. All right, I think the cutting this hose made kind of a stink rubber, burnt rubber. I don't think it's very pleasant. All right. All right, so there are my 3 hoses cut to length. And this is what I have left of a 100-foot spool that I bought, I don't know, a year ago. So there's probably, what, 20 feet left? Okay. Let's make some hoses. We'll blow out these lines. All right, that's one hose. I'll tell you, having the foot-operated air-assisted hydraulic pump makes a big difference in operating this little crimper, because otherwise you're pumping this handle like 150 or 200 times to do one crimp. And the hit and release on the pump All right, that's not enough. There's a specific diameter that you're expected to crimp these down to, but I found from experience that 2000 psi on the pressure gauge gives me a proper crimp. So that's what I'm using as a pressure gauge back here. $2,000. Make sure all the die are okay. All the hoses are made up. Let's go put them on. I don't know which of these is which. We're going to find out in a we operate it here. In other words, which ones lift and which ones lower. So, I mean, the two ports here called A and B, and they're the operating ports, equipment ports, so, or actuator ports. So when you pull the handle back, it opens the A, and when you push it forward, it opens the B. And the spool is in here. It's a rod with notches in it. So in the center position, it's all the hydraulic fluid flows in and then back to the tank or to the next valve, however this is plumbed. I'm not sure. I don't remember the other actual plumbing between the two valves on the front here. Anyway, so when you push it down, actually, I think that actually raises the spool, I'm going to say, and that pushes it down. So raises the spool, which opens a slot for this port. You push it down, opens a slot for the bottom port. So, or vice versa. Anyway. So we'll snug these up. All right, I got a little extra slack under there, so I'm going to take that up. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I have a little bit of slack. I'm pulling all of the slack back as much as I can. Okay, it doesn't give me enough to reach that port. I was going to say if I had enough slack I could just do that and then do it this way. But, alright, we're going to do it like this. All right, let's go ahead and move the tractor out a bit. Open the fuel petcock. Got a couple of leaks. I didn't tighten up apparently. Correct, I didn't. That was not too smart. Yeah, I lost a few ounces of oil there. All right. Let's fix those hoses again. So I misjudged, I think. Looks like I misjudged the length of this hose by just a few inches. All right, I'm just going to use this as an extension. That should give me enough. Working with hydraulics, you want to be careful. You don't expose yourself to any high pressure fluid, you know, like so it could like squirt into your skin, because it'll go right through your skin into your, like that. Oh, that's because that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's because the cylinder was extended. Well, I just ruined all these clothes. All right, let me get a rag. This is crazy. And the pump's not running, so it's not high pressure, but I did just cover myself with hydraulic fluid. You want to be careful you don't expose yourself to any high pressure fluid, because it'll go right through your skin, and that is a severe, life-threatening injury, because getting that oil, you got to get that oil out, and that's a big deal. All right, that's not the greatest. I'm not sure I'm happy with that. I'm not happy with that. All right, so probably lost a little bit of oil here. I'm going to have to replenish. All right. I will make up another short line. The problem is I don't have any more straight crimp-on connectors. I've used them all. So I'll replace this with a shorter. All right, hydraulics are working. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll come back next week. The final episode will be next week. We're going to install the ripper shanks, take the tractor out, and give it a test. So come back next week to see that. Keep you in a little bit of suspense. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then.